Hey everyone, welcome to my Achilles recovery journey. I am Dr. Stacy Barber, also known as the Physio Fix on Instagram and all the socials, and I'm here to give you all the final 1 year recap of my Achilles recovery journey. And there's a lot to cover. So the last video I made was a 6-month video, and obviously it's a year now. So there's a lot that's happened between 6 months and a year. So I will try to cover it all briefly. And then I'm gonna give everyone some tips and some things that I've learned along the way that I think would be incredibly helpful if I would have known all of these before even beginning, this whole journey. I think it would have set things into perspective and given me a lot more patience and what to expect. So I'm here to give that to you all so I can help you, because that's what I like to do. I like to help people. And now, since I am a physical therapist that has experienced the same injury, I'm able to help even more people that are also going through the same thing. So let me quickly recap. The last video I did, I had just done my big Zion and Bryce hiking trip, and it was very good. Remember, I didn't think I would be able to do that because I was like only close to 3 months post that partial re-rupture that I had. So that went really well. And that was right around that 6-month mark. So let me bring y'all up to speed. Okay. So that was like around week 22, 23, somewhere around there. So after that, I came back, I kept doing rehab 3 times a week. I did 3 times a week of rehab all the way up to about the 9-month mark. So I'll tell you about that here in a second. So that was around a week 34. I started doing some short sprinting distances, about 5 seconds long intervals, like 30 seconds off, 5 seconds sprinting at a time. I'd already been kind of running a little bit, and I wanted to kind of bump things up a little bit. So I've definitely felt this. I remember after doing this, especially at the first couple times, I was miserable the next day. So my tolerance to those different movements and those fast-paced movements was not there at all around that 6th, 7th month mark. And it's gotten a lot better. So I'll share kind of in chronological order how things have been going. Week 35, I started to run a mile without stopping. Whoop, whoop, like, you guys are like, that's no big deal, right? So, but it was a big deal for me. Like this was week 35. So right around 7 months, finally able to run 1 mile without stopping. And it was hard. I remember that first time doing it. I mean, it was the heat of the summer here in Arizona. So that alone is miserable. It makes everything so much harder than it has to be. But I was like, having to keep encouraging myself, like, you got this, you can do it, Stacy. And I did it. So I started running twice a week, 1 mile at a time without stopping around that 7-month mark. At that same time, in that same week, I started wearing Vivo Barefoot shoes again. So I'm a huge advocate for barefoot shoes, Vivo shoes, minimalist shoes, and I'd always worn them previously prior to this injury. So I wanted to get back to them, but I had tried to integrate them in, around the 4-month, 5-month mark. Not gonna happen. It was not a good thing back then. And it really just caused more irritation because being in that like flat foot shoe caused more stretching of the Achilles. So being in a higher elevated heel was actually so helpful for my recovery all the way until this point, which is when I first started wearing the Vivos every 3rd day. So I couldn't even wear them 2 consecutive days in a row. That was far too much. Week 36, I initiated the 2 1-mile runs per week. Okay, so that's where we were at then. And then week 38, I started integrating some more gymnastics specific skills into my rehab plans with Dr. Hailey. And I started doing aerials, which is a cartwheel without hands on the airtrack. So the airtrack is like a trampoline, it's kind of like a trampoline, I guess. It's like long, it's rectangular, and it like helps you bounce. So it's not ground floor at all, but I was scared to death to do these. Like I could do them whenever I wanted prior to this injury, and I wanted to get back to all these things that I could do prior because obviously I just want to be whole, or I wanted to be whole. I am whole now. So I started integrating stuff with Hailey and doing gymnastics type movements and started doing those aerials on the air track at week 38. I had also dropped at that point to 2 PT sessions a week. So this is like around the 8-month mark, I would say. And then the next week, week 39, I did a back tuck on the airtrack. So now even like a harder, scarier skill. That jump, that takeoff was terrifying for me. But everything went well. Actually, it was like better than expected. It was like just as good as previously. And I do think that's because I did so much strength training, so many jumps, so many plyometrics, so many agility drills with Nate and with Megan and with Hailey. So I was ready to do whatever, you know, whatever I needed to do at that point. That week I also tested my weightlifting and powerlifting maxes, so I decided I wanted to start prepping for a meet, and I kind of wanted to see where my baseline was, so I was able to snatch, clean and jerk, and I think at that point, if I remember correctly, I was about 10 kilos off of, maybe like 15 kilos off my all-time best snatch, and about 20 kilos off my best ever clean and jerk. So not terrible. I was hitting like close to like 80%, but not 100%, but it was the first time I tested post Achilles rupture. So I think that was a good starting point, and that was around that 8-month mark. Week 40, I did my back tucks and my aerials on the ground. So cool. It was like the most exhilarating thing to finally be able to do it. And once again, I was so scared. I was so like in my own head. I remember having to like visualize it and then just like chuck it, because I was just like, oh my God, what if I like hurt myself again? And I'm going to talk about the PTSD of this Achilles injury. This is my dog on my lap. Say hi, Pepper. Hi. Yeah, so there's so much PTSD surrounding this injury. So it was really hard for me to kind of overcome that, and I still haven't completely overcome it. It's still definitely very much apparent in the back of my mind, and I'll definitely talk about that later. So week 40, I did those on the ground with shoes on, not barefoot, because I'm not crazy. Well, I wasn't crazy at that point. And I signed up for my first weightlifting meet. I wanted to start training for my weightlifting meet, and I wanted to sign up for the weightlifting, which ended up being 2 days before my Achilles snap anniversary. So this was going to be huge for me, because this was my huge comeback, like after all of these like ups and downs and tribulations, to finally like it come full circle, and for me to finally compete and hopefully like do just as good as I did before. I thought that that would be huge around that 1-year mark. So I signed up for the meet. So that means I had about 12 weeks to train for it. Week 41, I initiated 1.5 miles of running twice a week. So I had done 1 mile for about 36 to 41, so about 5 weeks of that, and then I bumped it up a little bit. I'm not a runner, mind you, so if I was like a runner, I probably would have been doing this way more consistently and probably would have bumped things up faster, but for me, I didn't need to push anything in terms of running, so I wanted to make sure I just was slow and steadily increasing my mileage and increasing my tolerance to those activities. Let's see, so I dropped down to physical therapy around week 42 to just 1 time a week around like the 9-month mark. So I had done 3 times a week all the way down till 8 months, 3 times a week. You can count how many sessions that was. And then I did 2 times a week for that 8th to 9-month mark, just to taper down. And then I started doing 1 month because I was doing so much training for my weightlifting meet that was coming up that I just was like so fatigued all the time. And I was doing so many calf exercises, which is part of Olympic weightlifting. Because if you do like snatch pulls and clean pulls, everything is a calf raise. Every snatch, every clean, every jerk is calf work. So I didn't want to keep doing too much because it was just like limiting me in terms of my recovery to be able to actually do Olympic weightlifting well. So at that point, I dropped down to once a week. So 9-month mark. And I started wearing Vivos every other day. So not every day yet still, but every other day. So kind of tapering down a little bit more to that flat foot shoe. Week 44, I initiated 2 miles twice a week. So 3 weeks after I initiated the 1.5 miles, you guys see, I'm very slow to progress. I'm not like in a rush to get back to running because this girl does not love running. Shocker, I know. And then week 48, I went to Yosemite. So me and my friends decided to go hike Yosemite in the freezing cold. It was snowing, it was icy, I was slipping everywhere, and my Achilles held up just fine. We were hiking between 10 and 15 miles every single day in the snowy, icy mountains, literally. Like, I thought, like, that's hard with a normal Achilles, like no injury. But after this injury, once again, I still had a lot of PTSD. I was very scared to go up, to go down. And I felt like I was like so cautious, you know, when I was walking, just because I thought I was just gonna eat it every second of the way. And I didn't put those dang, what are they called, crampons, on like whatever the thing is on the bottom of the shoe that helps you like have better traction. We didn't think, let's get those because that would be smart. We just winged it, and it turned out okay. I did fall a fair amount of times, but it turned out okay, and I was able to do that just fine. And that was week 48, so that was at the 11-month mark. Okay, and then over the next 4 weeks, just did a lot of physical therapy once a week, training 4 days a week, and then at that basically week 52, so about the 1 year mark after my original Achilles rupture, I had my weightlifting meet. I won my weight class and I qualified for the American Open Finals, which is next December. It's emotional. I didn't think I was gonna cry in this video. But man, this year was just an emotional roller coaster. So to finally be able to get back to the platform and compete at the same level I was doing before, to qualify for the biggest national event in America, it just goes to show that you can achieve anything that you want with enough patience, with enough hard work, with enough time, with the right people in your corner. And none of this would have been possible without, you know, believing in myself, first off, and believing in the power of physical therapy, the power of the body's natural ability to heal itself, and the power of graded exposure, like gradually exposing myself to more and more things. Wow, it's been a year. So to break that down, so my snatch, I snatched the same exact, like my personal best, so 68 kilos, and it looked phenomenal. I could have done more, I should have done more, but I missed my second snatch, so I didn't want to like push it too hard because I wanted to hit those qualifying totals to be able to qualify for the nationals. So I hit the same max that I've ever been able to lift for that lift. And then for the clean and jerk, I hit 92 kilos to give myself that 170 kilo total, which is 170, which was qualifying total. So my best ever combined max is 171. So the best ever clean and jerk has been 93. So I was 1 kilo less than my best ever. And this is after an Achilles rupture, everyone. So phenomenal experience. Like, I wanted to come back. I wanted a PR, you know, I wanted to like one up myself to show exactly what your body's capable of after a huge surgery and a huge injury like this. But I think tying those personal bests and qualifying for nationals after everything I've been through is literally a miracle. Like, if you would have told me that I would have done that when I had that partial re-rupture, I would have said, you're out of your mind. Like, there is no freaking way. But I did it. And now I get to, like 1 year from that meet, which was in December, next December is the nationals. So I get to go out with a bang. Hopefully I'll compete in that if, you know, all's well. And who knows where I'm going to be, you know, in a year, but I did it. I qualified, and I think that's cool. I had my follow-up doctor's appointment around maybe the 9 to 10 month mark with my doctor, and then I got another MRI to see kind of what the healing looked like within my Achilles, and it showed that everything had healed but like 10% of the rupture. So this is the first time he actually gave me a number and the percentage of my partial re-rupture. It was 90%, 90. And okay, sorry, I got cut off and had to change the little disc person. So I was saying I had a follow-up appointment with my surgeon around the 9-month mark, and he recommended I get another MRI to kind of see what the healing looked like within my Achilles. After that partial re-rupture that I had, this was my first MRI after that. So remember, my partial re-rupture was near the end of my 3 to 4 month mark. So it was like close to 4 months, but still within that 3 months. I think I was like week 14, 15 post-op, and I had not had anything done. I didn't do the PRP, which was suggested to me because my dog broke his leg and I couldn't carry him the same time I, was non-weight bearing again, going up and down stairs. It just was not feasible for me at that point, so I decided to forego the PRP and just wanted to let my body heal itself like it's supposed to. Remember, if you have anything left, like if there's any partial rupture, that means there's something still connected, right? So now it already has blood supply, and something is connected, so you have the ability to heal. Now, how much time will it take to heal? Well, that will depend person to person. So we got the MRI. And this is the first time that I got to see the old films from the first original rupture, and then the partial re-rupture, and then the new films, like the most current version of what everything looked like. And he told me that everything had healed but 10% of, and it's still healing, but at that point there was still 10% rupture, but it was like in the middle, so it wasn't on the outside at all. So it was like within the tendon, so like intratendinous rupture, and more like a up and down, like a vertical sort of rupture. And he's at that point, I didn't even know this, the partial re-rupture was a 90%, 90% re-rupture. So that is huge. He said that, normally they would have considered surgical intervention based on like what I wanted to get back to, but since they had just recently done, the surgery, and there was looked like a storm, a chaos storm of healing within the tissue at that point, that's why they wanted to do the PRP instead. But we didn't even do that. So my body had healed itself 80% over the course of 4 more months without doing anything. I did not immobilize myself. Remember, I just put myself in cowgirl boots to give myself that heel lift throughout the day. And then at nighttime, I put myself in the boot to sleep, so I would stay in that plantar flex position. And that alone, in combination with the right exercises and the right dosage of exercises, has healed my Achilles. That's pretty cool, right? Our bodies are so freaking fascinating and so amazing at healing themselves. So I wanted to share that. And I need to get another MRI here in a little bit, because I do want to see if it's 100% healed, which I'm sure that it's 100% healed at this point, because it feels phenomenal. And it didn't even feel this good like a couple months ago. Like, it's been progressively getting better, day after day, week after week, month after month. So that's really reassuring. I know for all of you out there that still feel kind of terrible day to day, it does get better. Okay, so my last physical therapy session at that 1 year post-op mark, I did testing. So we tested, all my ranges of motion. We tested also my calf raise height side to side. We also checked my soleus strength output, so how much force I could generate, and then the rate of force generation, so like how fast I could produce that force, and then how long I could sustain that amount of force. All very cool things. We have these little devices at my clinic that we can test this sort of thing, and it was really cool to see the outcome. So my soleus strength is 98% of my other side, which is, it's a negligible difference, right? Like, it could be testing error, it could be a number of things, but it's pretty dang symmetrical at this point. My calf raise height is 1 millimeter less. Millimeter, like that is like tiny. And it doesn't fatigue out, so I can still do as many calf raises as the other side. Gastroc strengthening also seems to be about the same. I would say, if anything, gastroc is probably a little bit weaker than soleus, but soleus is pretty much symmetrical. And I could produce over like 250 pounds of force, like 300 pounds of force, because it was like 130 kilos. That's pretty dang cool to see. So that much force I can produce with my soleus, like just one side, which means that if we're not loading our soleuses enough, so if you're not adding that external force and being able to like do soleus calf raises with like 100 pounds, 200 pounds, you're not going anywhere close to what you should be doing. So that's why I say that people underload their soleus so much. And I think that's really causing a lot of negative things in the Achilles itself. But I'm gonna get to that in a second. Hold that thought. My dorsiflexion, I still lack about 10 degrees on my left side. Remember, back around week 12, I started getting dorsiflexion so rapidly fast on my left side, it was concerning to me. So I like started reading up on it. People were talking about healing long versus healing short, and how if you get that dorsiflexion back too fast, you can actually heal the tendon long, which means that the tendon can't produce as much force. It doesn't have as much elasticity as it previously had. And I was like, no, let's not do that. So I like shut down the fact that we were working on dorsiflexion. We stopped doing that altogether until week 20. And we just really focused on strengthening at that point. So the fact that I still have 10 degrees difference side to side, and I still had I had about 5 degrees difference pre-injury, okay? I've always had a little bit less dorsiflexion on my left side. Did that predispose me to this injury? Who freaking knows, right? But I still have 10 degrees less dorsiflexion on my left side, so my injured side, and then I have 5 degrees less plantar flexion. So take that for what it is. These are small things. It's just a way for me to keep tracking improvement and keep making sure that the number is moving in the right direction. So kind of cool to see. All right, now this is the part you're gonna wanna pay attention for. Ready for this? All right, things that I've learned along the way. I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget anything. And this is not an all-inclusive list, but there's a lot of really good tidbits in here. I hope that you'll listen. Number 1, don't drink alcohol after this injury, especially early on. Alcohol, we know, impairs and delays healing, and it's really not worth it. Even later on, you will recover slower, so just don't do it. I would just wait until you're at least 6 months post-op to start drinking alcohol, which is what I did because I didn't want to have anything interfere with my healing. And even now, I'm very cautious about any sort of alcohol, and I make sure that if it's the day after any drinking, I'm not doing anything that's like really intense or vigorous, because I'm still very worried that it's going to cause any sort of delayed healing or dehydration of that tissue. We know dehydration might lead to also subsequent injuries of the Achilles or tendons. All right, number 2, early weight bearing is key. I think that a lot of protocols out there have delayed weight bearing, and I think that that is detrimental to our healing process. So as long as your surgeon's cool with it, I would say, I think most people don't do early weight bearing because the surgeon thinks that you won't be able to maintain the plantar flexion position. But as long as you can maintain that plantar flex position and not go into forceful dorsiflexion, let's get weight bearing as early as week 3, week 4, you know, just be in the boot, be smart about it. So I think that's key in making sure that we get the muscles stronger and start getting things working like they're supposed to again. All right, number 3. Doing the little things every single day is key early on. So start finding things that you can do. The ankle alphabet, the band 4-way ankle stuff, seated soleus calf raises. You don't have to do them standing. Do as much as you can early on. It's going to help you out in the end. Don't get out of the boot early, like I just said, especially early on. And if you're the type that if someone gives you an inch, you take a mile, you tend to overdo it a little bit. Maybe hold yourself back more. So maybe you are the type that maybe shouldn't be weight bearing early. Okay, so know who you are as a person, know who you are as a patient, and keep that in mind when progressing. Also with that, knowing who you are, know that if you're having a good day and you shouldn't be doing something, don't do it. So some patients of mine, and even me myself, tried to, say like, I'm having a good day, maybe I'll just try this other little thing that I know I'm not ready for, but I feel so good today. Don't do it, folks. You're not ready. If you haven't done the prerequisite strengthening, you're not ready for it, okay? Don't push dorsiflexion until 12 weeks post-op, like I said earlier. You don't want to heal long. You'd rather heal short. You'd rather maintain that strength, those tensile strength, and that elasticity within the tendon. So I wouldn't push anything until 12 weeks post-op. And even then, don't push it a lot. Like, just start doing things in dorsiflexion, and that alone will help progress your dorsiflexion range of motion. All right, this one's a big one. Don't listen to arbitrary timelines and what your doctor or your protocol says. I am so sick of doctors saying, you know, you should be jumping at 12 weeks. You should be running at 16 weeks. If you didn't start strengthening until 14 weeks because you had some infection of your wound early on, you are nowhere close to being ready to run, okay? I'm just gonna say that. So I think that that's probably part of the reason why I had my partial re-rupture. I went into the doctor at 12 weeks and he told me you should be jump roping by week 13. And I was like, I just got a single leg calf raise, which was like a little jumping single leg calf raise. And I just felt like I was already behind, and I was like, shoot, I better start doing more jumping stuff. So we started to do more jumping stuff. And obviously it was too much that my body wasn't ready to handle at that point. And then it caused that partial re-rupture. So don't listen to protocols. Listen to your physical therapist. Listen to your physiotherapist. Listen to whoever is guiding you and helping you make sure you're getting through this whole recovery journey. But don't just rely on timelines, because tissues heal at different intervals and every injury is different, okay? Next one. You should do calf raises or some variation of soleus gastroc strengthening every other day. So I would say 3 days a week. And you gotta make sure, like I said before, to load it enough. Most people don't load their soleus enough. If your body is able to, you know, tolerate up to 7 times your body weight on your soleus and gastroc complex when you're running, guess what we should be doing? We should be doing things that are more than our body weight. So if you're not doing things heavy enough, then you're really just limiting yourself and you're setting yourself up for a potential re-injury. This is exactly why I have created this new program called the Achilles Fix after everything I've been through. And it is 3 times a week, and it's focusing on loading things appropriately, really challenging those tissues and getting them to adapt like we need them to become more resilient and be able to have more work capacity and tolerance. So I'll link that below if you're interested in that. But I don't recommend people start the Achilles Fix until about 16 weeks post-op, just to have a little bit of buffer time. If you're a really fast progressor and you're feeling really good, you can start it at 12 weeks, but I think 16 weeks just give us a little bit more of a buffer to make sure everyone's okay for that. Yeah, clinicians, they don't know how to treat these injuries. I'm serious. So if they're not having you do like heavy calf raises, find someone else. Next thing, the first 4 months suck. The next 4 months suck, but less. The last 4 months still suck some days, and you will still have bad days. You really don't feel normal or relatively normal until you get past that 1 year post-op or post-Achilles rupture. So if you're somewhere in there and you're having bad days, know that you are not alone. I had bad days all the way up until I hit 1 year post-op. I'm almost 13 months post-op at this point, and this is the first week that I could run every single day and do things every day, and I don't have soreness at night, and I don't wake up and having stiffness in the morning. Take that for what it's worth. I've literally been having symptoms for 13 months, and I finally now feel normal, okay? PTSD. It's the realest thing that I've encountered to PTSD. I'm worried every single second of every day. If you're worried about re-rupturing every second of every day, this is very, very normal. I want you to talk to people. Talk to your physical therapist, talk to your spouse, talk to your friend. You know, like, don't just keep it inside. If you're worried about things, like, talk to people that are like, hey, you know, it's gonna be okay, because I can tell you it's gonna be okay, but you might not listen to me. So talk to your people and have them help you through this. Build on your successes. That's a big part of this. So You have to be successful at this thing before you can be successful at this thing that's harder, right? So if you're thinking about getting to this thing, make sure you're successful at this a number of times before you're ready to handle this. If once you're successful at this 100 times, I promise you, you'll feel more comfortable doing this thing, and you'll feel even more comfortable trying this thing, which is harder, okay? So build on your successes. Don't skip steps. Everything takes time, and every single day that you're successful at doing something, it will help you feel better. You will feel more confident, and that is tremendously helpful. Don't push on the bad days. There's going to be bad days, okay? Progress is not linear. That is just unrealistic. It's like this, okay? So on the bad days, listen to your body. If you're dehydrated, if you haven't slept well, listen to your body. Tell your physical therapist, I didn't sleep well. I haven't been hydrating. I didn't eat a lot today. I don't feel that great. You know, like whatever you're going through, communicate with the people around you that can help you, and don't push on those bad days. Listen to your body. A good physio or a good physical therapist is worth every freaking penny, okay? Don't go to that in-network provider just because they are cheaper. Do your research. Find someone that treats a lot of Achilles injuries, and a bonus if they've also had an Achilles injury themselves. I've treated a million Achilles injuries. Not a million. You know, I've treated a lot of Achilles injuries even before I had this injury, but nothing compares to what it's like actually having this Achilles injury and now being able to take what I know and what I felt inside and being able to also relate to my patients, right? So if you want to work with me, I do online consults every week. I work in person with patients. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so if you live close by, come see me in person. I want to help you. And if I can direct you to a person that's close by that can help you too, let me know. Send me a message. Eat your protein. Protein aids in tissue and wound healing, especially early on. So supplement with extra protein if you need to, if you're not getting enough protein throughout the day. And also take a good, whatever that word is, good multivitamin, because you don't always check all those boxes that you need to, but really it helps to make sure that we keep our immune systems healthy and we can keep functioning at a high level. So your body, because your body's having to generate so much more energy to heal these things, right? And you're doing so much more activity with healing this injury and doing this rehab. You have to fuel yourself, and you have to supplement if you need to. I'll provide you with some links at the bottom too to help with that. This injury is hard. I think you all know that if you're here. It's going to take everything that you have and then some. Be patient with yourself. Surround yourself with a good team of people who will tell you when to hold off and when to push forward. We all need people to hold us accountable and keep us from doing stupid things, okay? So listen to your people. Have some good people in your corner, because that matters a lot. BFR, it's an amazing tool. Use it early, use it often, and get that size back of your leg a lot faster. So if you're not familiar with that, that's blood flow restrictive training. That is using a tourniquet to aid in producing increased strength, increased hypertrophy of the tissues. So let's get that size back fast of that whole leg. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I didn't early on because I was too proud, and I ended up depressed and miserable. Don't be like me. If you need something, just ask. Don't lose sight of your goals. They will keep you motivated on the hard days, but don't look at them as unattainable either. They should motivate you, but don't compare yourself to where you used to be and who you used to be. That would just cause you a lot of misery right now. If you're in this journey, comparison is the thief of joy, right? That's what they say. So patience is key. Just remember that these are your goals, but give yourself a whole year or even more, depending on who you are, your injury, and what happened, to get back to that, okay? Be patient. It's not just like you can flip a switch. If something feels off, go to your doctor. You have to advocate for yourself. You are the only one that knows what feels normal to you, and if something feels off, trust yourself and trust your gut. And make sure that everything is okay. It's always better to go to the doctor and have them do an MRI to make yourself feel better and more comfortable, than to hold off and keep pushing and then realize something did actually happen, something went wrong, and now it's taking you forever to kind of get back to where you used to be, okay? Remember, I had to advocate for myself. My surgeon said, there's no freaking way that you re-hurt yourself. I did such a good job. It was all about him and his ego. And he's a great surgeon, great person, but he's never experienced this injury, right? He didn't know what it felt like. And it wasn't until I showed him that video and he heard the pop of when that partial re-rupture happened that he was like, let's get an MRI. But I shouldn't have had to do that. So advocate for yourself. Okay? Okay, I think this video is long enough. I hope that you've learned something from me. I hope that I can keep helping you. Remember, I'm on Instagram at the Physio Fix. I'm new to TikTok, not really my thing, but I'm there right now. I'm here on YouTube. You can ask questions. You can reach out to my team. I have that new Achilles Fix program, which is appropriate once you're 16 weeks post Achilles rupture. I'm also available for in-person in Phoenix, Arizona for physical therapy, and I'm also available online. So I will link all that stuff below. And please, if you have any questions, don't feel like you can't reach out to me. I'm here for you, and I want to make sure that you guys are all getting back to 100% and beyond, because I know what it's like. So anyways, I don't want to cry again because it's been an emotional year, but let me know if you need anything. Comment below. Bye everyone. Hope you're healthy. Hope you feel better soon, and hopefully you never have to go through this injury ever again.